So we'll get the recording started, and we will try to do few more examples for the complex searches, just to you know um, reinforce our previous queries and to add few variations to what we've learned already. So for that reason, I'm going to be scrolling through quite a bit into the book and then picking and choosing some queries. We'll try to finish it in the first half. Um, and then we're going to have to start with the other chapters. We're still not done with module two. It's quite a lot of material we have to cover. So I'm going to start that later. We've got four chapters that's going to follow after this one. That's where we are going to finish up our module two. So let's look at this search query for now. And I've picked it up from the page 215. And the main title of this is it's chapter 15, Business and Industry Search Competitions, B2B Leads, Product and Services Info. So since we are doing picking and choosing, I would certainly want you to keep an eye on any of these that you would want me to run, because these are longer queries, perhaps more complex than we've done previously. We're going to attempt the one that I just picked, which is searching for job titles in named businesses for contact info. So where we know the name of the business, where we're looking for job opportunities, we're going to apply a query number 6. And let's see what it tells us before we insert it into our search. It's asking us to look for a contact info. It's asking us to look for email address and go to the email addresses that end with honeywell.com. That's the business. Honeywell is a company. In text, and then we have used an asterisk marketing, because supposing if you are interested in anything to do with marketing, any job title that backs your professional career, or not being very specific on job titles, because it may be different titles, but job description more or less is the same. So not to um, not to miss out on that, you are going to use asterisks. So I've used asterisks before the word marketing, as if it could be online marketing, web marketing, traditional marketing, could be director marketing, and then whatever else follows after marketing, we just left it open for the asterisk to, find the job titles. Again, we've also used something to do with sales, similar to how we have written this one. We can obviously do a lot of variations to this. It depends on what we are trying to get to. You can come up with, maybe better or more variations of this, because this is one attempt to look for something deeper into the body of text of pages, and therefore in text is what is used. So consistently we have used in text, and later may come up with alternative to this and see if we can execute queries by replacing in title and using different combinations. So before we get to that, let's just attempt to see what this is going to do for us. So I'm going to copy this and insert it into my search bar. So it is doing the recording fine. Just want to make sure. Now I'm going to hit enter and see what it does. Honeywell Biosystems.com. Since we are doing in text, so we will be more looking at the description part. That's where it's going to scoop most of the information that would be displayed in the description since we've used in text. So what we got here, let's look at it. So is this going to serve our purpose? I don't know. It does have an email address of Richard Bauer at honeywell.com, contact this. So it did bring us the info, but most importantly, if it has anything to do with marketing or sales. So let's try to open this. I think it has done a nice job. It brought a lot of email addresses as well as phone numbers for Honeywell. And it has the word sales in it. At Honeywell is actually what it brought back to us. Then we have this one, see, field sales manager. Okay, so this I think worked okay. Now, next, what I would want it to get for me is something to do with all of these, except that I might want to restrict my search to a certain country. So if I say in text, in fact, let me see if I can put in URL and I put what would this do?
That would give you returns in United Kingdom.
Exactly. So let's see if it is going to work or not, just so that we are both sure that this query is executable and we can default or try to get to the sources coming from Honeywell in UK. At least I know from in URL it is defaulting to co.uk. More than likely it is coming from, or the source for this pages is coming from UK. So that would really make it easy for me to search for these kind of jobs. So this is one. Now, let's try another one. You know, a lot of times we are trying to find a list or something for which we have number of entries on one page that appears as a directory or itinerary of something. If I'm looking for furniture in liquidation, I might want to, and this is for looking for a certain type of products and services. So I'm going to close these and insert a query that says, let me just also put it in this one. Now go back. I want the search to look for a PDF version of the indexed documents that carries words like list or directory or itinerary. And I want to be very clear about what I'm looking for. And this is furniture. It could be a list that has to do with liquidation or auction. And I want email just for contact, and restricting it or somewhat asking it to look for this type of information in and around Ontario, which is the location part. And let's say in text, I need the word 2021. So this could be one way of writing, and we could also do before and after. We'll try both. And for this specific query, let's see what it's going to do for us. In Ontario, email this, auctions Ontario. So it did find the information in the PDF file. So you know that PDF is crawled as well while it is indexing the PDF versions, and it is keeping a record of those and making it available for matching with your search terms. So I think it has the word furniture. More than likely, if you click on it, you'll go to the correct page. Alternatively, if I would take the same query, and what else can I look for? So this is my original query. What I want is the query results to default to a range of date. So if I put after colon and say 2021 December 5th. Let's see what it's going to do. Now this is adding further restrictions to where we want to go, along with the demarcation of anything to appear after a certain date. And this is how I've written it. I haven't used before, but I've just put after, because you can use after without using before. If you don't want to give it a range or just want to give it an absolute um, instructions to find something after a certain date. So I've put this one, and now I'm going to run it and see if it's going to respond as I would expect it to do. So inserting the same query, I don't see anything wrong in this one, but it is way too restricted. So the word Ontario, unless there is something that we can find after this date in Ontario, it would not function. Or in another case, because the word Ontario is not within quotes, it may just drop it altogether. Keep that in mind. So there is a bit of a flexibility with the word Ontario. We haven't inserted it inside of quotation marks. The date here appears to be 31st May 2022. That is after December 5th of 2021. 2022, 2022, 2022, 2022. So it is actually responding to our after colon operator that we added. Perhaps nothing in December 2021, everything here it is. You could see it has got a date of 30th December 2021. Now, where you find a date like 15 September 2020, okay, there it is. I'm sorry. No, I just got confused. Anyway, it's all doing a good job so far. And now, one more thing I would like to do just to see if it is going to respond to before and after together in the same query. It has become too long. Be mindful that because of the number of characters that the search query is able to um, for the search engine to be able to accept it, there is a limitation to how many characters you're going to put in. Characters also mean the gaps. So this is also counted as a single character. And anything that you put in as an operator is also, so everything, every bit of it is counted. I still think that we haven't touched the extremities of what could be the maximum number of operators or the characters. So it should execute. So let me just put before. Here I'm using both after and before. So before, let's say 2022 and say June 30th. So nothing to go beyond June of 2022. May, February, June 4th, not June 30th. June 30th is what we do not require and nothing to go beyond June 30th. Still March. March. So this way you can control the range of dates. In search, generally you have this ability to use a tool where you click on a tool and you have a date tool which allows you to, give it a custom range, right? Things like this. But there is a difference when you do this versus when you build a query like this one, you will get different results. Uh, these ranges are there for you, but it is something for, novice or, just it's a hand holding. It's not that it's not going to work, but it is very difficult for us to pinpoint to what extent it is going to deliver the quantity of results when you compare it with the query like this one. This is more precision query, and this could be a range which you can put in. But or what they have built into these tools is actually the query string that involves before and after. So for those who are not proficient in doing quick searches, they may want to use it. And I have seen, and I can guarantee you almost, that the quality of results when you restrict it using before and after, or use it as you do in this type of search query, the effect is much better. Besides, imagine when you have other strings or other operators as well as other restrictors to work along with everything else, it may start to it may not give you the same result as you would otherwise with this tool, because with this one you are basically adding another criteria along with what is already there. So it is more convenient when you write it like this, because now you can understand the entire query because it's working coherently with everything else that uh, is part of your search string. So This part we have done, and we think that it has done a marvelous job. So nothing to complain about. Now, if I take another query, I want to do some queries with around. So let me see if I can find it in the book. In fact, when I think about it, I think I do have some examples in the slides, which may not be in the book, but that is showing you how around is applied. I'm also looking at the queries that are there, and if we haven't done them or missed them out. So just going towards this slide slowly. Truncation. This is the one. So let's look at these to get an idea of what the around operator would do for us. We have 5 examples. Now, if we were to find, and these queries are to look for the citation reference for which Bhaskar Mitra and Nick Crosswell is quoted many times, especially when it comes to internet's research, or it has something to do with semantics or textual intelligence. So these guys are pretty well known, except that sometimes we don't remember the first name or the last name. And if you don't know the names correct, or for some reason you miss them out, it's very hard to look for research papers that has anything to do with these two individuals. So what we would like to find in research papers, or research papers may have a title that you forgot, but you also, and the best thing would have been to look for the citation reference uh, for the paper that these people have written, but you don't remember their names. So what I would do is, first of all, do file type PDF, because that's where I needed to find or look for this information. I would do Mitra, and then do around 3 Crosswell 2017. So if this is the typical citation reference, or if this is how it is written as in the first within quotes, I would be able to put an around and work with this to look for a conjoiner or some information that connects or completes the words that are missing between these two. So last name I remember for Mitra, and I used around 3. Similarly, if I have to look for the something to do with Mitra and Crosswell, but on the HTML page, or the index that has static index page, built from the HTML, which is not the same as PDF. PDF is another version of file. I'm going to use index with a colon sign, so that it's just going to direct the search on pages or web pages. Now, citations is the word I want. Mitra around 3 Crosswell 2017, I can do that. Another question is, can you use multiple instances of around in the same search query? I would advise not, because it is one of those operators that work best when you don't use more than one instance of this in the same query. This is not to say, this is where you see one of the major issues with Google search is that um, there is no definite book or rule book or something that tells you that certain things work along with something else, or a rule book that says, you know, tells you how to use it effectively or more efficiently. So uh, the idea of what is presented to you is coming through our own experience of how we run the query, things we find based on what gets returned, what is flaky, what is considered to be, you know, considered to be inconsistent, or could be several other things, which allows us to make some sort of suggestion on what to apply and what not to. So, based on all that I just explained to you, I wouldn't recommend to use around more than once in the same search query. This part, you may find it in the book. Somewhere it may be a small line or a print somewhere that you may not be looking at. But when you look at the examples and you get a sense of what is being done with certain operators, you get a hang of it, and depends on how much you want to practice. So my suggestion always is to practice as much as you can. Google's intent is really to throw whatever it has on you to make you believe that it is responding to your search queries. It is going to try its best algorithmically, that is, to give you whatever it can, even if it is incorrect or it's insufficient or if it is inadequately correct. It is still going to attempt to bring you, but that doesn't mean that these are the correct results. So, what happens is that with a situation like that, if you do get the results coming back based on your best knowledge of how to apply these operators, it doesn't mean that you should not verify or you should not recall and go back to what has been taught to you in the class, such as the fact that I wouldn't use it, meaning that you may get the results but it may not be as good. So having said that, let's just look at the fourth one: in URL edu. In URL edu without a dot. If you see that there is a small dot over here, this dot is not as relevant, so you should not have to use it. But another example of what I just told you about the using around, that it will execute with the dot, but it is not advised to use a dot after the colon sign. Okay, because it is assumed to have an extension which is to be declared as .edu, and therefore putting a dot is only going to create some sort of uh, um, it's going to create some sort of confusion for the search engine, because this is either ignored or is included. But for whatever, because the algorithms are not as predictable, a simple rule where we feel that you would get better results, we would advise you not to use the dot, and to look at the fifth one, which is without dot, and just simply put edu. In URL is a property, it declares a property value that is textual. It is nothing to do with notation. So dot is a notation and it is a drop word. But because it has no gaps between the E, which is the first letter of edu, and the dot itself, it would be considered as one textual word formation. So anyway, there would be a bit of a difference between what you would get in your search results when you use dot versus not use the dot. Better results are experienced is not to use it. So in the fourth one, we have used in URL in text for a reason. In URL is going to bring us all the results that contains or is coming from the educational institutions. In text, everything the same. We can do it this way. Um, Fifth one is preferred over fourth. So if you want to try it, you can see that there would be a bit of a difference in number of search results returned. Okay. Right. This is somewhat like a revision of what we have learned so far. And at times, we would also like to consider certain situations for which I have opened the book and I am scrolling through some important queries. Now, there is a chapter on time and date stamp. If you were to look for certain articles, certain publications to know the source of that, as well as the time of upload and the time of publishing, as well as the time when, especially in evolving stories or events that are taking place where the storyline is changing or the events is subject to um, some changes in details, there would be another date and time stamp embedded in the HTML code that says evolved, or it would say mm, changed. Some of the words that would give that date of when certain script or certain text is changed in the news. Uh, you would have to actually look for that date in the source code, which means that it may not be published, or it would say first published, or I don't know what other wordings they use. Could be another author, another um, um, correspondent that may have continued with the what was left before as a continuation of how situations have changed. So the author might change also, but those information can only be found in the mostly can be found in the HTML part. And in this one, it is giving you an idea. If you look at the chapter which talks about the date, the time and date, the value of how stories have evolved or changed, especially in war zones or in disaster situations, in calamities of nature, where there is a lot of coverage going on the ground. First published, last published date, all of these can be queried. We haven't touched upon this subject, but some of you who are to collect, say, evidence, even, I don't know if you have, or did I mention to you how you can actually go into the archives of cached pages that are have disappeared from the from the internet, or it is not something that you saw earlier and it has changed, and where you have to go back and look for that page and that content and it has disappeared. um, Happens a lot when you are collecting digital evidence and you are interested in looking up something that you read earlier or previously, and it is no longer there. That is one of the drawbacks of internet data, is that it is too dynamic, plus it can be taken down, or it can be commented as non-appearing, or it may not be there when you go back to it. So where do you find these? Did we talk about archives.org before? Did I discuss with you something called Wayback Machine, or do you know of it? Any one of you?
I don't think you talked about it, but I love using that website. Um,
All right.
except for when I find old stuff of myself. So,
All right. So now you've made us curious. I'll definitely be looking for that. Should I be searching for something that you're hiding?
No.
I don't know. You said it. All right. So now that we would be talking about the archived records, something that can be retrieved even though they've been there in the past, I'm going to show you a magical site. It's going to be really interesting for all of you. I'm surprised, Steve, you don't know about that, eh?
No, yes, I had used that also.
You did use it?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do it for the benefit of everybody else, even though it's in the book. How about you, Gil? You've been quiet. You there? He's left for us to record it for him. Actually logged in, I know, but I think it's probably taken a pause somewhere. So let's take a break for now. And when I return, we'll talk about this. It's not going to take too long. It seems that we'll have to finish it as soon as we can. So I'll just spend 5 minutes on it. Let's get back to it. Give me about 10-15 minutes and I'll see you shortly. Okay. Gil, Coral, Steve, I'm back. I think we can continue now if you are all there.
We're here.
Let
I'm
me.
ready.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Gil, you're there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
All right. I was just checking on you.
Yeah,
called
I
for
had
you.
to kind of bug out a little bit for the hurricane, but we're here.
You got hurricane. Where about are you?
I'm
In
on
the
the States
States?
coast in Indian Harbor Beach, south of Cocoa Beach.
Oh my God. So you
So
are. It's probably not a. Is it an island of some
yes, I
sort?
live on an island, and next to the city, the main place I guess would be Melbourne, Florida. We weren't on the West Coast, so we didn't get blasted like that. All we had was like a whole bunch of rain, trees came down and all that. But compared to the folks on the West Side, I got nothing to complain about. But we still had to take precautions, had to look out for our in-laws in
Is it?
Orlando,
Is
things
it?
like that.
Hasn't this gotten killed by now? It's the intensity was there before, like about what, maybe 2 days ago. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
over
it's
the
over with
weekend.
now. It's over. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
yeah. It was
So
like all
anyway,
last week. Then it was the prep and it went down. That was it.
mhm.
Yeah.
Have you heard of archives or Wayback Machine by any chance? Something that holds copies of web pages that disappeared or that aren't there
No.
anymore? Some haven't. Okay. This could come in handy when you're looking for some sites that are no longer there or pages that you couldn't find. So there is a good chance that you can go to a website. It's called Wayback Machine. When you click on it, it's going to open up, shown exactly how it is coming up. All you have to do is you have to insert the link or the website domain uh, that would bring some of the history of what pages used to be or which got collected as a record of some sort, or it is archives that you can get to. So when I did this, I actually wanted to go to a site called Be Vocalize. This was my company, a technology which I sort of ended up selling, predecessor to Siri. So Be Vocalize is no longer available because the company got sold, and I wanted to go and look for some of the pages that used to be there or something that got archived. And what brings me the information is this chart. it is, and I'm surprised I see that there is a bar here that says that B Vocalize is somewhat has another site that is opening up in 2022. And when I left, or the last that we had this available online was in 2013. So imagine a starting date was somewhat around 2008. So it's so long ago. And if I want to look for some of those pages, I would just click on the bar. Bar is indicating where, or in certain dates of the year when the site or the pages were collected. So I'm going to click on 2011 to see if it has a copy of any of those pages. And I see that it is highlighting the date of 15th April 2011. And it has a snapshot of it, for which all I need to do is click on it. And it is going to show up as it did right here. Okay, this was in 2011, 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. So I can get to this page, or at least see what the document is like. If I need an HTML of this, that can be downloaded as well. So it is a kind of evidence that gets collected where the Wayback Machine, or it's also called archives.org, is busy collecting pages randomly. It can be used by someone who is who wants to download a digital evidence of a page. They can actually subscribe to Wayback Machine, and as third person they can give a URL to be preserved, or collect the image of that page and put it in the archive. So anyone can do that as well. And it is common practice for us to do it at times when we are doing litigation support. We do want to collect that and put it in the archive. So this was just to give you a preview of one of the ways that you can get back to something that was there on the internet before. So I'm just going to close this. We're done with this part. I'm going to run another example over here and ask you to give me or assist me in making this query work better for me by first understanding what it is meant to do or look for. As you can see, it is now looking for, see, I've used asterisk.org. I've used another static. I could have just done, I could have written it alternatively. That is, I could have written it easily this way. Would there be a difference in the outcome or the number of results that you would otherwise get if you had written it as in 3.1, for instance? Let's try it. Let's see what it's going to do for us. So this is original query. 21,500,000. Obviously, search engine is such a common term. And all of these are going to be coming from sites that has .org along with .edu. So to run it slightly differently, let's look at the results and see, based on the number of results we get, we could perhaps come up with theory. And I use the word theory because I don't know algorithms of Google, but all I can do is look at the results and try to imagine why the number of results might be slightly different. So here I have 21,500,000. In this one, It's almost close, somewhat similar. When you have an enormous number, as in millions, this is, a very slight difference. So basically, you don't really need to put the asterisk and a dot and org. It's not going to make a whole lot of difference. And as I told you before, no need to use asterisk or dots or nothing of that sort. You would still get a fine result if you don't make it complicated. This is more stable and recommended versus this one. However, this query is actually explained in the book, but because we're looking at or conceptualizing what could be a better way of writing. So these are little pointers. Now, supposing with the results I'm getting, obviously I'm getting results from, let's say, Wikipedia. I'm getting results from, or assuming we don't want to get anything coming from Wikipedia, what should I do to make this query not bring me the results from Wikipedia on search engines?
Put a minus Wikipedia.
Okay. This could be one option. Could there be another one? I'm going to copy this now, put it as 3.2. Now I'm thinking maybe if I did something slightly different or use a different operator, please tell me between 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4. Which one would work better, or what do you think might be the right approach to making a decision between using this as a word, this as a word that's occurring in the URL that I don't want, and this site where I don't want anything to be coming from wikipedia.com?
Probably 3.4.
That's my vote too.
Okay,
Me too.
agreed. I'm very proud of you all. Very impressed that you were able to make that distinction. Now, if had I done Wikipedia with a minus, what am I implying here? Am I asking the search to eliminate this as a word from anywhere it occurs on a web page, versus making sure that the root of it or where it is being pulled from is ignored?
You're
So
just
to
asking
make
for
that
you're just asking for the word, where, regardless of where.
But when you do that, Steve, what happens is that the record may still be pulled, but it may have a reference to Wikipedia or has some association with Wikipedia, because it could be in a content area somewhere in the body of text of those pages, which is what you do not require. You want to root it out totally as a source or a resource for that information. So if you're going to do it as an ignored word, it may still bring some results, but may not have the word Wikipedia in it. Uh, Yet it may be somewhere, you know, it may be a page uh, that is not getting rid of it from the URL part, or it is not identified in the URL. But when you do minus in URL, likelihood is that it is going to take it away from the source itself. So the source may not have anything to do with Wikipedia. See, when we are doing minus Wikipedia, it is not restricted to the URL alone, or it is not restricted to the source of the site or anything associated with the domain of wikipedia.com, but it may appear somewhere on the page which is not showing in your which might be showing in the URL as part of it, but but definitely will not be in the description or in the body of text. So to root it out totally as a reference or anything attached to this word Wikipedia, the best thing is to make sure the site itself is totally ignored, which means that this part is not going to attach or have any association with the source of Wikipedia. So this is more in depth. This is more, I guess, accurate when we compare it with these three. And a lot of times a search may not do a better job. It may not be able to eliminate Wikipedia word totally from, like I said, in the title tag or in the URL tag. It might just be there, or if it is not there, it may be somewhere that is not rooted out totally. When we are talking about rooted out, we are talking about this, and perhaps a third party link that has any association with Wikipedia could also work, but not as well as in 3.4. Whereas just the minus sign to eliminate a word may not be as easy for the search to, it may still include it in your search results. So when I have to ensure that it does not show up from the site at all, or those sites should not appear, I'll use site colon Wikipedia. So if I run all three of these query, there should be slight difference in the number of search results. If I do, and this is okay, this is there already. So let me try this. If I do it this way, I get 13,100,000 results. If I try it with just one. Sorry. Did I spell it incorrect? Wikipedia. Oh, should work. Wikipedia.com. Very odd. Site origin, contingent, minus. See, this is Google. This is a just watch what I'm doing so that when you come across with situations like this one, perhaps we need to review what's going on. I don't see anything wrong in this. I don't see it. Can you do this on your site just so that if you run it on your machine, let me send it to you in the chat. Just copy and paste it in your browser and see what it's doing for you. Should work. I don't see anything wrong with this.
It's doing the same thing for me, actually.
Same here.
Wikipedia is .org. Maybe that's the issue.
Thank you for that. It's making it even worse.
Yeah, now it's just showing you Wikipedia.
En dot Wikipedia. That's very odd. See, this is exactly what we don't need. And it is not acknowledging the minus sign. Why is it doing that?
I actually just deleted the beginning of it and I put in like domain.gov, and that actually brought up some interesting stuff. It's like limited, but it isn't bringing up Wikipedia anymore. I kept
But
the search
thing
engine
is,
part in quotes and the minus wikipedia.org. And then I just put domain:.gov. Maybe it's like having a hard time dealing with all the different domains. I don't know.
no, it's not responding at all. Maybe Google is doing something. See, even in URL is not responding. Now it's doing it within URL. Now I'm going to try site.
It doesn't like site.
I don't know. It's just weird, eh? I mean, it's obviously, it's obviously something that's freakish in the, like, look, wikipedia.org, this site, I don't want anything coming from the site. So there is something wrong. It's nothing wrong with the query, I can assure you that. Nothing wrong with the query. Some weird stuff. Maybe they're working on something, or maybe algorithmic changes happening. It's weird. Okay, so let's suppose, let me try to make it simple. I'm going to remove these site edu. Now it's working. Searchengineland.com.
Too many operators initially?
I don't know. I mean, that's weird because I mean, it's if we have it in the book, it's probably been tested, was running fine. So when things like this happen, it's probably, a temporary hiccup or something which is not conforming to how it is supposed to run. So when we are actually doing something like we've done now, we're testing out things, we get to understand a little bit more about, how some of these might have changed or the convention may have changed. But let's try, while I'm writing some variations of the queries, I'm also testing out Google in how they are changing something, or if not, maybe there is an upgrade or something happening with the minus. So let's suppose we take another site out, which is search engine land. This I don't want. I'm going to try test it out to see if minus is working properly. Search engine land.com, which is the third result right here. Going to try 2 instances of minus to exclude these sites from coming. So let's see. That's been removed. So the minus is working fine. And supposing now I want to add a site which is search engine journal. That's the first result. .com spelled correctly, search engine journal.com. And at the same time, I want to give it an OR. Computerhope.com. Computerhope.com. So either this or this, that's what I want. These I do not want. Get rid of this. So it is coming from Search Engine General. Hope. Now it's working fine. This is doing quite all right, which is somewhat similar to 3.4. No. It was There was another query which I saw earlier. Let's try to run one more just to see what's going on with Google. I'm going to try this one. Okay. So again, this. It doesn't matter a static dot, but let's suppose it's there just so that I know. See, HL is the language. HL is equal to in URL is the language bit. And when you are doing search for pulling something within a certain language without changing it through the back end of, the browser has this option to change the language. So without doing that, what else can you do to get your results quicker? I'm going to show you something on page 251. And in page 251, you would see things like, abbreviations of countries or country codes, which are used generally by social media, like Facebook, for instance. They use AR is equal to ARD, E-D. So HI-IN. HI is for Hindi, -IN is for India. These are just standardized now with the list of how you can actually change the or put something with the in URL colon to get to that language part. You can do this, and that's what I'm going to try to pull now. See if I can use HL. Generally, you would find HL is for the language. So there is a URL. Here it is. See some examples of country code and language. This is on page 237. So what we do is we look for country code and language codes. So this is language code, this is country code. So if it is Mexican, I think MX or ES is for Spanish. This is for the country. So both of these, if you put these in the URL with or use it within URL, you should be able to get to the language in which it is written. So if it is French, let me see if I can do it with the same query. I'm going to change it a little, and I'm going to make it FR, okay, for French. And I don't want the word Wikipedia in there. So I've used in URL with a minus sign, and I have put in URL French. So only thing that gets changed here is FR. Let's see what it's going to do for us. So now we are not getting anything from Wikipedia, but we are getting something coming from search engine -FR. This is a French search engine. This is to do with the French language. When you click on it, you will see that I want this to be changed to French language. So what do I do? See this language, it is saying language is equal to FR-FR French. So it should be in French. I don't know if my browser is not translating it, but apparently there should be a source which is coming from France, United Nations Office on Vienna. And this is French, I believe. Is it? plus this, yeah, the soleil. This is French. This is French. Oh, this is what we did already. This is in French. Can see the post. This is in French. This is all in French. Okay, so yeah, this especially when it comes to news and you just want the news source to be changed, where times you want to compare the news source or the opinions from two different parts of the world to get a sense of how the title of something or how certain news is coming different or the point of views are coming differently. So what I would do, and I think I have put it in the book as well, there is queries like see, this is the area where there is a lot of information about language, but I'm trying to find uh, an example here. Yeah, on page 241, if you want to get something from the news in another language, and supposing that this is the result you got from English when you wrote gun control controversy, another thing that you would notice is that if you change or translate this, like these three words can be translated, let's say, in any other language. And when you put this in another language and you copy and paste it here, the results would be different or the sources would be different. So let's suppose I take gun control controversy. If there was the English version that says gun control controversy, okay, and if for this topic I want to translate this, I guess I can translate it. Translate English to Ukrainian. It's spelled correctly? Right.
I think you might mean gun rather than gen.
Hmm?
Are you talking about gen control or gun control?
Gun control. Did I write it incorrect? Sorry, gin control. Gin is to be controlled also.
Yeah, I thought that was
Gin
kind of
or
interesting.
rum. Sorry. And there we go. So I'll just copy this and I'm going to insert it for search in this language. And so you get results that are in that language. It's easiest for you to if you want to change the language. First of all, there's 50 results here. And what was the other one? Let me 18,300,000. Here we've got 50 results. Hmm? So this is, this is another thing that you can do to actually, just by changing the language of your search terms, you can get the news from these sources, which is actually coming from Ukraine. All right. Um, all of these. So once you change that, you will get a different language. This is another way that you can get results without having to go back and change the language. There is a language option in the browser. Right. And here is a comparison of two results. One is coming from Germany, one is coming from Canada. So if I also feel like I need to, let me just change the page view, make it single. And so even if you have written it in English, like two different ways, I mean, these are two different searches. One is being done from Canada, one is being done from Germany. So we have used VPN to compare if the results are going to be the same or not. And you would see that depending on if you've used a VPN, VPN is the third option that you can use for language or from the location or source of that news. So even if the words are the same, the browser is the same, you would see that the results might be different. The ones in the box are different ones. Okay. Everything else is the same, but still the results are somewhat different. Okay. Anyway, that's as much as we'd like to talk about, the language part, and using FRs, abbreviations of language and abbreviations of, the countries. That would be another interesting thing you can do. You have to use in URL to do that. In the searches that you're going to do, let's suppose if you want to do a search for Facebook in Arabic, and you're searching for something inside of Facebook. Remember these social media sites. One thing that is important is that you should be logged in, first of all, in these sites with your account before you run search queries for the, to get into the Facebook domain. Second is, be aware that when you open an account in any of social media accounts, in social media, they give you an option to make certain information public or not, or where you are attached to a certain group. That information is generally public. Some forums are also public, where they also give you an option to make certain groups within those forum groups that could be private, like in Reddit, and 4chan. Those are very famous forums. So based on how much of a security you have allowed, or how much of your private information is not to be made public, it is going to be identified by the search engine as a no-go area, and therefore it may not be able to cache those pages. And when you're doing your search for social media accounts to find someone's record or any information that might have been archived earlier before it became private, only that part will be available. Otherwise, that data will remain hidden, and you may not be able to get to it. But when you are logged into those social media accounts with your own registered login and passwords, you may be able to get somewhat little bit extra information that gives you slightly more insight into getting that information. A part of those, or the type of info that is easier to get to when you're logged in, are publicly available information, like in groups that you are a member of. groups that can be queried for an individual or a business, that is internally or by design made public or made available for search engines like Google from platforms, uh, social media platforms as Facebook and LinkedIn. So keep that in mind that by design, if you know the flow of how information is collected and archived and therefore be available versus that is not available, and to the extent to which it may be available by you simply logging into it before you run your search queries, that is you know that is a kind of knowledge that you should be equipped with to understand how much of it you're able to get. Okay. Some of the examples of these searches are shown, like in Facebook, if you want the source to default to a Facebook in Saudi Arabia or that part of the world where you want to collect the information on job opportunities or whatever, you may want to put in URL the part where it says ar-ar.facebook, because this is where it defaults to. If you notice, when you are actually logging into an account in Saudi Arabia, same way in Germany, it's going to look like this. So you have to be observant to understand what is the convention of how the subdomains are created or regionally. Even in LinkedIn, they may have a format which says linkedin.co.uk, which is different from Facebook. So every social media account has a default that basically separates one region from another as being the same business, same company, but bringing info or logging you in from that part of the world. And therefore, to pull the information, likewise, you have to go back and enter that into your in URL. I think we have covered about enough. There used to be for the video search and for video, when you were trying to figure out if a news is fake or real, or if the footage is not rigged or somehow been tampered with, there are certain tools online which actually assist you in identifying or figuring out if it is genuine or not, and these are available online, so it doesn't have to be forensically audited, or it doesn't have to be hard coded, or the file does not have to be on your servers where you have to run special programs to do in-depth identification of their authenticity. There are online tools and other sort of ways in which you can very easily figure out if it is, you know, if it is the right sort of, or if it's not fake. Okay. And in the book that I have actually written, it's called Online Investigative Research. That's slightly old, about 3 years ago. That's when I actually finished it. And now I'm working on the upgraded version of it. That has a list of tools, and it has sort of given a methodology of how to quickly, being online, be able to identify if something is not regular or it is fake set of info, especially within the multimedia space. Um, one of the tools that you would find in this book that's been mentioned, it's coming from Amnesty International. It's a journalists network. It's called YouTube Data Viewer. The last I checked, it wasn't working as or wasn't available as a free tool anymore. But what it does is that when you put a YouTube video or give a link to it, it's going to actually break that video into frames or individual photos. And those can be viewed after they are separated and become available for you to to examine. So data viewer, I don't know if it's working or not, but it is shown what it is capable of doing. It breaks it into frames, and then it can compare the frames with the image search to see if it's been duplicated, copied, or it can take you to the original source of, you have to do a bit of due diligence, but by matching these, it's going to tell you where it, who else has it, or where originally it got uploaded. You can view the date and time and all those things. That information becomes available, which is, where is it? Mm, Yeah, here it is. Video ID, it's going to decipher that by looking into the HTML or the whatever is the format for the video, upload time, and all that. You can view all of this. So there are these simpler tools. If it comes to verification of something fake or genuine, you're still able to do it. Quite a bit of tools nowadays available. So I think we are pretty much done with the complex search queries, and I think you have a good hang of it. And I'm very comfortable that if you have to sit for the exam, even for the practice exam, you can check your strengths and your weaknesses. I'll give you the, I'll provide you with the what you call the practice Q&As. Perhaps before the end of this week, hopefully by Friday. That should be available for you to practice with. Another thing that we needed to, or something which is still an integral part of module 2, are chapters 18 through 22. That's what we are headed for. We're going to talk about internet information sourcing. We don't have to go into details or whatever, because there is a sort of I'm more focused on the exam part. I just want you to cover things which are extremely important, or on the concept side, you're going to be tested on it. So even though it is quite voluminous, but if you pay attention to what is being taught in the class, you don't need to go through each and every bit of information in those topics. So to make your life easy and for you to accomplish your goals, if you are planning to attempt CIRS. So don't be overwhelmed by or think that we have missed out on things, based on exactly what is mentioned in the chapters. But we will be covering headings and only that part which is more relevant for, the exam, for the examiner to examine you on. Therefore, I would now just thinking the volume of the next chapter. I don't think that I want to continue with it right away. We'll have to postpone it for the next class. So far we have done 10 classes. You see, if you look at the schedule and to know, just to get your bearings of where we are with the course, let's get to the schedule chart. And if I go directly to the schedule, we'll be able to see how many of the classes are done and what's the balance. Does any one of you know how many more classes we are left with so far? Or you're just going with the flow? Okay. Now,
I think we have 7.
all right. You are correct. And I would think so too, because you see, when I'm looking at the schedule, without getting you all confused, there was a spot that we didn't have the class or something adjusted as it should. Because, remember when I decided to take a class on Monday, was last week on Monday, just to get that, the previous class that got cancelled because I wasn't here. So that was the class on Monday, 26th of September. And that is not inserted in this schedule. That should have been corrected. So technically we finished 8th class on 26th, 9th on 28th, and this would have been the 10th class. Like today's class is, no, hold on, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. This would have been the 10th class, and today we finished up the 11th class. So, you know, where we are doing this would have been the 11th class. And this yellow color you see, this is booked for the classes that comes after we get done with the complex search. So we consumed an extra class, literally the class 11th we consumed on the complex search queries that should have been finished earlier than Monday, which should have been last Friday. So anyway, we'll see what we can do. So we have classes until the 15th of October. If for any reason it does not get finished, then, and this 15th one is on the Saturday. So be mindful that, you know, it's coming very close. If you can, if you want, I can, you know, move it to Monday, which would be 17th, instead of, you know, not to spoil your weekend. So just be mindful of that. And if there is a need, we can do back to back Monday and Tuesday, meaning that we may finish on the 18th, and we'll be able to cover everything. That's what I'm sure of. Worst scenario, we'd still maintain the same schedule. But we'll get to it when we come close to the 15th class. So just so that you know, keep the schedule in mind, and we'll have to do a bit of correction. I just mentioned it to you, things that will be kind of reshuffled so that, you know, we are all on the same page. Nothing comes to you as a surprise. There is a holiday, Columbus Day, on the 10th. So that slot is not available. Only thing is the Saturday. So if we have to, we'll move it. It's up to you. We missed, we did have to catch up with the 11th class, and we couldn't. So we will try to carry on and continue. For now, we'll just finish up the lecture. I don't want to go any further. If there is any questions in your mind, I can answer. I'll be happy to do it. Coral, Gil, Steve.
Can you let us know when your update to the investigative techniques will be out?
Yes, I will do that. I haven't worked on it yet. I'll work on it. We'll round it up before the end of this week. So I'll let you know. Thing about investigative research is that we do need about 3 weeks in between, generally from the day we announce it. Usually it's about 3 weeks window to collect or to round up about enough students to make it worthwhile for us. So presumably it would be towards the end of October, the earliest, or may be first week of November. So that's just tentative, right? But
Thank you.
definitely, if you have anybody else who's interested, Steve, let them know. Because when we announced it, because we paused earlier, so it was a kind of a discontinuation. So to bring it back as an offering, it usually is a cycle of about 2 to 3 weeks for us to, you know, spread the word and get people to connect or to join us. If you have like maybe 2 or 3 people, at least we need 4 to get, you know, to start with the class. That's our target usually. Anyway, So I didn't want to confuse you, but letting you know that this could be a little bit of a situation. So if we have about enough candidates to take the class, like I said, and given the fact that we would have about 3 weeks, end of October, early November. Anything else? Or Gil, how is it going for you so far?
It's going okay. So when I gotta catch up stuff because I wasn't around for the last week, so I've been trying to review them, the videos. So yeah, I'm a little behind right now though.
But for whatever is delivered to you in the class, these lectures and all, you are comfortable, you're able to comprehend
Yes,
at least.
some of the
Yeah.
things, yeah, because like I said, I started from zeros, 0, 0. So a lot of the stuff I gotta, tie in. But yeah, that's why I have to review the stuff again and again.
All right. Well, keep up the effort and let me know if you need any extra help. And
Okay,
same
sir.
goes for
Thanks.
you, Coral. Sure. Well, most welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah,
All
thank
right,
you.
Coral. I'll let you all go. Thank you so much for the nice evening and for the uh, great presence of yours, because there are 4 people missing still. We had 7, just 3 of you. So, at least you make my day. If you guys are not around, then imagine I couldn't be talking to the screen. So thank you for that, for being around. All right. Yeah.
We'll
Have a
always
great
be here.
evening. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Take care of
Okay,
yourself.
sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
See
you.
you
Have a
next
good
time.
night.
Right now.
Good night
Thank
to
you.
you.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye bye.